Good morning, it's Tuesday, May 26th, and we're going to continue our discussion on action with a subject that, at first glance, appears to be at odds with what we talked about yesterday. And it begins with a prompt from the Daily Stoic, which is, what if I stopped caring about what others thought? Now, coming on the heels of yesterday's message about injecting kindness into the world around us, when I first read this prompt, I had an immediate recoil. I felt conflicted in what was being asked. How are we supposed to be part of a community if we remain detached from how others feel? Isn't that selfish, isolating, and unsupportive of this idea of sympatheia? And for the first time in the last 2 months, I really didn't feel like writing on the subject because I didn't believe in it. At least not at first interpretation. As I continued to spin the prompt around, looking at it from different angles, I realized that it fits in beautifully with the three Stoic disciplines of perception, action, will. So first is perception. As with any situation, the foundation is best laid by seeing things as clearly and as objectively as possible. This allows us to categorize our impressions into those things which we cannot change and therefore should willingly accept, and those which we can and therefore should choose to take selfless action. Now, assuming that we've done step one correctly, and that we're thinking rationally, we realize that while we can and should be aware of others' feelings, we cannot choose another person's opinion. We do not have authoritarian influence over how they choose to interpret a particular situation. Now, understanding that, we see that it's irrational and misguided to allow our actions to be swayed by something for which we cannot control. Instead, we'll be better served if we look constantly to align our actions to the best interest of the community. Marcus Aurelius reminds himself, don't waste the rest of your time here worrying about other people. Wait, what? Unless it affects the common good. Aha. So, our moral and behavioral compass should be influenced by the intention and impact rather than by the interpretation. That gives us the self-confidence to make selfless decisions and take appropriate action, rather than allowing ourselves to be influenced by outside forces that we cannot control. Marcus continues, I'm constantly amazed by how easily we love ourselves above all others, yet we put more stock into the opinions of others than into our own estimation of self. How much credence we give to the opinions our peers have of us, and how little to our very own. You see, you resolve this by just doing the right thing, by choosing to act selflessly wherever and whenever you can, and then letting the chips fall where they may. That's all we can do. And that reminds me of an afternoon pre-COVID whenever I brought my computer to go work at Starbucks. I ordered a coffee and I gave the cashier a $20 bill and told him to just keep the change and pay for any other guests that came in, and to do so anonymously. And then I chose a seat where I could sit and observe the effect my action had on others when they were told that their purchase was free. And for whatever reason, I saw no noticeable reaction whatsoever. Maybe the funds went to go pay for people in the drive-through window. I'm not really sure. But I do know that I felt a little crestfallen. I wanted that validation, foolishly. I needed to remember Marcus's comment to himself that you've given aid and they've received it. And yet, like an idiot, you keep holding on for more, to be credited with a good deed. Why? So whether or not I observed any reaction, or even if there was no reaction from the recipient, that didn't influence whether or not my initial action, that of paying for the coffee, was appropriate. It was directed at selflessly benefiting the community. That was something that I could control. But when I held on to that desire for validation, it suddenly became something beyond my influence, and it missed the original mark. So that brings us back to the prompt. There is a difference between being aware and empathetic of the feelings of those in our community and allowing those assessments to govern our actions, especially if they have the ability to pull us away from where our primary focus should be and just doing the right thing because it's the right thing. Again, that's all we can do, and the rest will take care of itself. Hope you have a great day. Bye.